Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're starting Hatoful Boyfriend Holiday Star. Hatoful Boyfriend, I suppose is how it's pronounced. I'm gonna mispronounce it. So, if you're not familiar with Hatoful Boyfriend, the regular game, it's a dating simulator game except for the fact that you're dating birds. And this is just the Christmas version of it. There's not a lot of selection of Christmas-themed games out there, and this is probably the only good opportunity to even check out this game, so let's hop into it. I haven't played the original game. I imagine this isn't going to be too different from the original game. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually is the exact same game with just some Christmas backgrounds and some of the pigeons wearing a Santa hat or something like that. So let's begin. I know because I looked at the achievement, there's 4 sections. And so if this story is different from the original game, I would assume that it is taking place after the events or long before the events of the main game. Let's see. Christmas thieves attack. I wasn't expecting that. A brutal team of thieves here to steal the city's beloved Christmas trees. We thought they were just an urban legend until now. They're after the tree that rhymes with T, which stands for trouble, right here in Little Dove Hachiman City. So this is kind of a spoof game that was released by Devolver Digital. It looks like a Japanese dating simulator game. It's got the trope that stops me from playing so many of these games, which is no voice acting and a ton of dialogue. Christmas trees disappearing and having to click to go forward. Now, theoretically, the controller is supposed to work here, so I'm gonna pull that out and see if that really works for gameplay. Not that there really is gonna be that much gameplay. Inherently, in most games where there's a lot of dialogue, I just skip through all of it because it's boring. Frankly, it's boring to me. It puts a lot of stress on my voice to have to read out loud everything. I'm hoping that since this is the Christmas version of this game, it'll be more of an abridged game, because usually in a dating simulator you can go 30 to 60 hours playing a game, reading a ton of dialogue and not making very many choices. I don't think I'll make it to the end if it turns out to be that way. We'll probably reevaluate if we even make it to the end of the first chapter. Can our faithful heroes from Saint Pigeon Nations put an end to this mystery before it puts an end to them? Please enter your name. Alright, well, this is interesting. The controller's not going to work for that. Hiyoko, let's see. Well, the mouse is needed and the keyboard. There we go. And who is this name? Or is this the last name? Let's just leave it, I suppose. Okay. So this is the Japanese style of people address people by their last name, not their first name. So if I want this right, I'm going to have to come back and click no. And try again. So I always use of all as the last name, and this as a first name. So we'll put it back that way, and then if I do it actually that way, it won't work either, because since this is going to be a Japanese style game where they always refer to me as my last name, they'll just call me of all the whole time. So the only real solution here is to either not enter a name or overthink the game and type in the same name as first and last. And I guess we'll leave it at that. So I wasn't joking. This is a dating simulator with birds, and these are, I think, pretty much just stock images of birds. It is a lot of silliness. This certainly was a game, the original version of this game, that got a lot of play on Twitch. Because I suppose Twitch and YouTube, you could get away with playing something like this, whereas a lot of the Japanese dating ones aren't going to really conform to the family-friendly standards that particularly YouTube is trying to attain now. And I think I'm just going to take a opportunity here to skip some lines of dialogue, maybe just pause and let people read it themselves. If you're watching this on a small screen, you're probably not capable of reading it anyways. We have no less than, it seems, 3 different birds talking, but not talking to me, and we see only 2 on the screen. And the audio sounds pretty loud to me. There was no audio controls, so instead of adjusting it for the recording, I'm just going to turn it down to for myself. As it's playing kind of a badly piano played version of our little town of Bethlehem, I think. And see, now we're on to a 4th named character. Generally, when you see a name and you see just one figure on screen, they're the person that was talking, but there were 2 people on screen, or 2 birds on screen. And it's just dialogue. Let's see, so this yellow one is Rabu. And this one is Rydo. And Devolver Digital puts out, on a moderately rare occasion, a good game. But then also they put out a lot of joke games too. And this really is a joke game, I feel. And I'm not really sure I'm even going to be able to get far enough into this game. I'm hitting A on the controller, by the way, and it wasn't working. I think there's like a timer. First of all, I have to wonder if Christmas-themed games really get me in the Christmas spirit, or anybody really in the Christmas spirit. I generally suspect that people who are gifted video games are usually going to play the best of the year video games, the things that were the big sellers on Black Friday around December. Or maybe they're playing something that they got before Black Friday, and then on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day they're gifted more games. So just, I don't know if there really is a market for Christmas themed games, or a market of people who actually want to play Christmas themed games. Certainly there's probably a tiny number of people that are obsessed with Christmas year round and would love to play things like that, but not enough to really make a game and sell it like that. And you can see I am I'm reading most of this, but it's just a lot of dialogue. And sadly, unless it throws in a lot of dialogue choices and interactions, there's not really a story here or a game worth playing. Because you know the story's not going to be good. You know this is a joke at the beginning of it. And honestly, I'm like 10 minutes into the game, 11 minutes into the game, and I've already checked out. We'll get some action. The pigeons all go to school with each other, like a high school, or more accurately, as it works in Japan, as I understand it, your high school is kind of like a free ride, because Japanese students struggle very hard to be accepted to high schools, and they do a lot of studying, and they go to extra classes and do all kinds of things, even summer projects and year-round school, effectively, to get into high school. But once they're accepted into high school, they're kind of fine. And I don't know really what the college situation really is in Japan at all. I think if you're accepted into a prestigious high school and you do well enough, then you're automatically accepted into college, and then that is the when you're going to have to, in college, start struggling and studying again. So often in Japanese schools, in this high school, it is just the best time of their lives. There's not a lot expected of them, and that's why they often set these dating games in high school instead of, say, putting them in college, where it would be potentially more relatable to people in the West who have a tendency to want kids to start dating in college, or maybe instead of high school. So we're getting a picture. Apparently somebody has a cell phone or a ticket or something. A Lutino Bugger is collapsed on the sidewalk. Taking this from a different perspective, if you were a bird person that liked to look at birds, I'm not sure if these names are going to be accurate or if it's going to be that interesting. You probably could go on to like a stock image site of birds and have like a hidden object bird watching game for that fan base, but again, I think that fan base is way too small. Go into some very different music now. Mr. Rabu. They're calling people Mr. instead of like Master or Senpai or Kun or Chan as a suffix. So they've translated away some of the Japanese elements that would have been in this game. But let's face it, this almost certainly was not made in Japan at all. I bet none of it was. Even some of the backgrounds and things were probably animated by people in Korea who would have been cheaper. And I'm just assuming that these are not animated at all pictures of birds, that these are real birds. So, the thing is, there's a skip button at the top, and they're just setting up, and we are really far. We're 15 minutes into the game, and this is the first I'm hearing of the story at all, and so all of that was kind of a story being told to the main character, me, and setting up the beginning of this element. But honestly, as a joke game, I can't put up with probably even 30 minutes of this. Like, I want to get to a first decision, and that's see if I can actually have any control. There's almost no options in games like this. Sometimes Japanese games like this will give you a schedule, and it will get something like Persona 5, where you have to pick what classes you go to, what you study for, what you're doing in the morning, evening, afternoon. That way there's a schedule maintenance element to the game, giving you more choices even if the choices don't really matter. But a lot of them are just straight up stories. Straight up conversions from very cheap novels, light novels that are pretty popular in Japan. And that's why they are called visual novels, is that it's just a few frames of animation here and there, almost always still images with cutout still images of the main characters when they're talking, still backgrounds. What does it say about this world, by the way, that that background image had regular human-sized birds in a display case, but this background and all of the foreground images seems to imply that the birds are the same size as the furniture. We could be in a world where everything is a lot smaller and not human-sized, but there is still that disparity. There are effectively human-sized birds in this world, and bird-sized birds in this world. I object. Let's see. And see, now this is a reference to another Japanese game, which is not really a visual novel. It is a mystery game where you interview people and proceed with court cases, and you object when somebody is lying, and you can catch them in the lie. And that is an actual good game and worth playing. What was that for? Just getting the feel for it. There's been an incident. So this requires not only an inside knowledge of a lot of the Japanese games that don't ever get taken to the West, it also requires a huge love for them, and yet still a willingness to joke on them, and this is not so good as far as the jokes. Like, the dialogue is almost 100% of this game, and I don't think I want to read any of the dialogue, so I've already kind of checked out. So now it's me that's objecting. You're not controlling or even choosing your dialogue. It's just happening. They could give you at least a little control on that, and let you pick from 3 different lines of dialogue that would effectively say the same thing. 20 minutes in. And we're getting different music forever. For different types of birds when they enter the scene. And so far this doesn't seem too Christmassy. There's snow in the background, and the story is kind of Christmassy. Inherently, the reasons why I don't want to play this game already is the same reasons why I wouldn't want to play the original game. And it's also why I don't want to play most visual novels. I would play some of the best ones, particularly if they had voice acting in English, so the dialogue would show up and it would read out loud. But sadly, that's just not how most of them are. they don't have the budget to hire voice actors. There is room for some YouTubers out there who are good at voice acting and doing many different voices to make videos of games like these. They would have an almost unlimited supply on Steam of visual novels that they could play and they could read out. And the decisions are so small that it would be not immediately impossible to have each decision that branches the story lead to a different video. Because you could do that with the YouTube end cards. Up to 4 decisions, which... no, actually you could do it for 5 decisions. With the YouTube end cards. Linking to 5 different videos. It would take a lot of work, and it probably wouldn't be under the defense of fair use as far as copyright. They are in Japan, apparently. I'm sure if somebody looked it up, half of these birds would not live in Japan because it's the wrong climate. And just skipping through all of this, trying to see as many of these characters, or really just trying to get to the point. A game like this really has no replayability unless you're obsessed with it, and because it's gonna be the exact same line of dialogue over and over again. I'm really hating also, I like it that it has controller support, but I'm hating that it pauses after certain sentences and then continues. Just let the characters say one full sentence. And the sad statement is, without having actually played them, I kind of know there's probably only about 20 visual novels worth playing. And then you have to get on to the darker side of it. A lot of visual novels do get sold and do have more than just dating and romance in them. They do have downright pornographic and romantic sex scenes, and they sell a lot on that too. And that certainly has over the years skewed the visual novel genre to the point where even if it is just a dating game that doesn't actually show anything, often the characters are drawn and depicted in more provocative clothing and poses to compete. And I imagine that's the main original thought here, was let's take the provocatively drawn and posed characters out and make them pigeons and see what the game would be without them. And frankly, the truth is the game would be boring, and visual novels in general are boring. They suffer a lot too from being translated from Japanese to English, because in the translation a Japanese word or phrase takes a lot less time to read and means sometimes more than what a sentence means in English. So it may take longer, it often takes longer to express the same sentiment in English than it does in Japanese. This is blatant speciesism, but I really hate that the game is just controlling my dialogue and I'm just clicking through this, because all I've done is just hit the A button. That's all I'm doing. I have not, in 25 minutes now, pushed a single button. Alright, so it's time to wrap this up. So I'm gonna see what this skip forward button really does. Well, it skips forward kind of slowly. And this first decision has happened. We could go to the clothing section, I guess. Again, these are human mannequins in human clothing. So it's almost as if the player of the game sees everything as a bird, but everybody else is actually human. So let's just skip through this and see how fast we could kind of go through an entire section. So two birds show up and are making a mess, and the police get called, and then we jump, and then we're to another section, and here again, here's the small sized birds. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually only takes a few seconds, maybe 30 minutes in total, to fast forward through everything. Of course, you're not really playing the game now. Like, we're doing different things, we're going in different places, we're talking to different people, but it all just doesn't matter if you don't care about the story. It's just random music playing, random backgrounds, random foreground characters. Apparently we're investigating a ghost or something. The story's getting pretty crazy. Let's go to the library. Seems like you could speed run this whole thing pretty easily. And I feel like I'm a pretty fast reader, but there's too much text here for me to speed read this. I'm not very much in practice, and speed reading does kind of leave you if you don't practice it. But yeah, this is too fast. Again, no options. Like, well, at least there's no options on the main menu. Maybe we could reduce the text speed and maybe find a, like, middle ground. Let's see. No. When you fast forward, it's still going way too fast for me for the long lines of dialogue. There is also way too many characters in the story. Characters are still being introduced, which this probably would have been another 30 minutes of going forward through this. And yeah. I really needed to play a game like this to just reinforce to myself, yeah, don't ever try a visual novel. It's not gonna work. Are we having a flashback? Apparently we are. They don't work. There are elements to that can be in other games. Persona 5 would be, I suppose, a good style game where there's a dating, I think there's a dating element in Persona 5. Catherine has a dating element in it too. Just to name two games that are not built around that main concept, but have that. But games that simply are built around telling a novel story, why not just read the actual novel? That's probably better. I suppose, in a weird way, that's kind of how Japanese media in general does this weird thing where sometimes a light novel gets published, it makes a few sales, and then to get some more sales, they convert that light novel into an animated TV series, or one season of an animated, or a short season of an animated TV series. And then the TV series never actually ends because the light novel is still going on as a light novel series. And so the TV series was just an advertisement for the novel. And sometimes I think they just make games in the same way. And it's rather frustrating and unwelcome to me to start something knowing that it doesn't have an ending, and that's just not really how video games work. Okay, so do we go Fist of the Teenage Girl or a Mailbox Attack? Let's try this. So I'm fighting this tank. Is this like a Sailor Moon reference? Nothing. It did nothing at all. So let's just start skipping forward again. And then somebody with a gun shot it. Okay, this would be funny as a gag game if it took 20 minutes to get to this point normally without fast forwarding, but it wouldn't have. It would have taken at least an hour to get to this point, I would say. If you're gonna read everything and go through every line of dialogue, every unimportant, probably pretty badly written line of dialogue. This is not how you do gags. Gags are supposed to be short and sweet, and they're just stretching it and making it not funny. This joke isn't strong enough to be this long. Like we've had several break sections as if this was a TV. That's not typical in visual novels, to my knowledge, either. And now we're in the science fiction area. And the story's just getting crazier and crazier. So yeah, I was definitely right to start fast forwarding, but I've actually taken too long to even get to that point. And see, we're still to the point. Have we wrapped up the story? And here's the only real Christmas element to it, besides the story being set around Christmas. Yeah, this gag really needed to be short and sweet, and it wasn't. So that was the 1 of 4 things, and we've gotten, I imagine, I imagine we've could have unlocked a few other pictures if we'd gone in different places, in the 4 or 5 different places we could have gone. And the funny thing about these pictures is these aren't a lot of the images we did see in the game, so they're kind of selective. And then the only other thing this has is this radio drama, where it's kind of a tutorial, kind of a joke radio drama, but it's again just text. So just fast forward through this. The stupid thing here is I think I could probably get 100% of all of these achievements really easily by just fast forwarding through everything. But man, there is no game here at all. There's nothing to like here if you don't like the story, and even if you did like the story, I don't think this joke is gonna hit. Clannad, I believe, is one of the best and most known visual novel games on Steam, and I would recommend people consider playing that before playing something like this and doing this. I think inherently you probably need the experience of playing a bunch of visual novels before a parody of visual novels would even make sense. And then, yeah, even though we're going over, as far as Christmas goes, there's not enough here that would interest me into having more of a Christmas spirit or doing anything like that. Yeah, I keep trying to play Christmas games and realizing it's not worth the time. So that's where I'm gonna leave this video. There's like I literally couldn't get to 20 minutes of it, and that's really what I was probably gonna do no matter what. Like, I can't play visual novels. It just doesn't work on YouTube, and it's a huge waste of time. If you have no money and you can only buy one game on Steam, maybe then you'd buy a visual novel if you like them. But if you can buy something with more interaction, more of the game part of a video game, I would suggest probably dozens, if not hundreds of other games to play before you play any kind of visual novel. On top of that, since this is a parody and a joke and a goof, I couldn't really recommend this even as a pick. Well, that's it for this video. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.